UFC 313 is coming up next weekend, and today, guys, I have the entire full card breakdown for you with timestamps if you'd like to skip to any part of the video. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Guys, we're going to be diving into these fights as deep as we could possibly get. I'm going to be talking about each fighter, breaking them down, breaking down their recent work, talking about the matchups. We're going to take a look at betting odds, if there's any fighters I'm a fan of. Of course, I am a fan first, talking about all of these fights, and again, timestamps are there if you'd like to skip to any part of the video. Thank you very much for being here, guys. Let's get into it with the early prelims. Starting off with the first fight, we have Ray Tsuruya taking on Joshua Van. If you guys have been following the channel, you might know that I am a big fan of Joshua Van, but I have liked the work that Ray has put in recently. He's 10-0. We've finally seen him make his UFC debut against Carlos Hernandez, and honestly, guys, and also, I might as well start with Ray because Carlos Hernandez is a very, very big matchup to get for your UFC debut. It was an entire matchup of grappling, and honestly, like, both guys showed phenomenal high-level BJJ, wrestling, scrambles, cardio. This fight, he looked really, really good in it. He is one of those fighters that's being hyped up because he's training with Tatsuro Taira. Tatsuro Taira, of course, making his rounds in the same division, looking really good, looking like a championship material fighter. He's an all-around fighter who can finish a fight anywhere. He does shine in the grappling. He uses smooth transitions, sneaky attacks. He has great clinch work on the feet, and he has also, like, really good just general wrestling as well. Although I would say, like, his actual grappling is where, like I said, he shines. He does have okay striking, too, and he has good cardio to push through everything. I was questioning him coming to the UFC because, of course, we have to question, like, the road to the UFC wins. We have to question anything before that. And to get Carlos Hernandez and have a good performance like he did, I think that looks really, really good. But speaking of people who've been looking really good, guys, you might know if you've been following the channel, I am very high on Joshua Van. He is an incredible boxer with an insane chin and great pressure with sneaky kicks and takedowns behind it. His body work, and I say this every time we break Joshua Van down, guys, his body work is absolute money. The speed is really nice. He'll walk you forward. He'll pick you apart where you think, like, he'll make you think about where you're getting hit. He'll attack absolutely everywhere in the body. The dude is an animal. He has all of the heart in the world. He's improving with each fight, and you can also never count him out of a fight. On top of that, he also has very good and improving defense. He never accepts any bottom position if he's there. That'll be very important in this matchup. He has good takedown defense, and when he's being pressured, he has really sneaky elbows in the clinch, especially if, like, Ray wanted to push him up against the cage. I love the improvements we've been seeing from Joshua Van. I love the fighter that Joshua Van is, and I think this is an incredible matchup to start off. What's a great card? Okay, Joshua Van, though. Joshua Van, of course, coming off of his loss to Charles Johnson, which he still did look good in that fight. And Charles Johnson is a very, very underrated fighter. He came back, got two really nice wins. The Edgar Shares was one of the best fights you will ever see. And then he really shined against Cody Djorden, okay? I still, like, would like to see him fight someone a little bit up the division in the rankings a little bit. But I still think that he would look good because, like, even against the Cody Djorden, he had another, like, he had a shining performance. And the Cody Djorden fight, while I don't think he's as good as Ray Tsuruya, it shows that he can take on these wrestlers. He can take on these grapplers because he did a fantastic job in the first round against Cody Djorden. Sorry, I took my mouse off of that. He did a fantastic job in Cody Djorden defending the wrestling in the first, and then in the second and third round, he just did what he usually does and just picks people apart, damages them, defending. Like, I don't see Ray being at the same level as Joshua Van right now. I think that Ray has a very, very promising future ahead of him, and he looks good. Like, again, he came into the UFC, took on Carlos Hernandez. Great performance. He's obviously going to try to take Joshua Van down, and you know what? He might get Joshua Van down, but Joshua Van won't accept bottom position. Joshua Van, if he's getting pressured, he'll land those sneaky elbows. He'll do that. He'll use that body work, and he will only get better as the fight goes on. I think Ray is being handed a dog right now, and I'm very high on Joshua Van, and this is a bet that I'm considering placing myself. Joshua Van is officially going to be my prediction. Two young prospects going at it. I can't wait for this fight, guys. I can't wait for it. Joshua Van is going to be my official pick, and Joshua Van is sitting at a slight favorite over here, and I think it goes to show that people are also high on Ray. I'm high on him as well. I just think for this matchup in particular, what he has, like, all he has, I don't want to say all he has to offer is grappling because he has a complete toolkit. That's what's going to be the game plan. That's where he's going to shine. If the fight stays on the feet, he's going to get absolutely picked apart. So my pick, again, is going to be Joshua Van in an incredible fight, which I predict. Let's continue on, guys. Up the card, Curtis Razor Blaydes taking on UFC newcomer Rizvan Kuniev. Now, There has been a lot of talk of Rizvan Kuniev because he was on the Contender Series a while ago, ended up getting a win, and it wasn't here, sorry, 3 years ago, 4 months ago, a long time ago, he ended up getting a win over the Contender Series, and he recently performed on the Contender Series again, and this is where he ended up getting signed to the UFC. A lot of people have been making noise about this guy because he, I haven't, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I have not looked into this myself. A lot of people have been talking about him being a PED cheat. I don't know what he took. I don't know how he got signed to the UFC. I don't know any of that. All I know is the fights that I've seen from him, okay? So, and apologies if you guys would like me to be armed with that information, but I always like to be honest on this channel. So, Rizvan Kuniev, he's a well-rounded brawler with a wrestling base and heavy hands. On the ground, he has pretty good ground and pound and okay submissions from what we've seen so far, but we haven't seen him against any top-level competition, and for whatever reason, he's being fed to one of the best heavyweights in the world already. I have no idea why, in Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes is a strong wrestler with okay hands, decently quick for the division. I think his hands are a little bit better than okay. Like, it's just, maybe it's because it's chin, but regardless. If he gets you to the ground, his ground and pound is where he shines. He has ruthless elbows, very, very damaging. And the problem is with Curtis Blaydes, and he'd be champion if he didn't have this problem, but he has the Alistair Overeem curse. That being, he has a chin issue. Every once in a while, he can lack fight IQ, but I think that Curtis Blaydes, if he had a chin, I wholeheartedly believe he would be he'd be champion of the heavyweight division. He'd be a long-reigning champion. He's such a good fighter. His hands are developing too. Like, every once in a while, he'll punch when he should be wrestling, but, I mean, like, he's a great fighter other than that. He just, unfortunately, has a chin that's easy to knock out. On top of that, Curtis Blaydes, he wins unless the fight matters because he has a fantastic record, only 5 losses. The Sergey Pavlovich being a recent title elimination bout. Of course, that one is a very, very important fight. He gets knocked out. Tom Aspinall for the UFC heavyweight title or the UFC interim belt ends up getting knocked out. It matters. So if the fight if the fight matters, then Curtis Blaydes will lose. If the fight doesn't matter, then he's going to kill his opponent. And that's kind of the logic that I'm taking into this fight. So Curtis Blaydes, while I do worry about him getting chinned, because Rizvan does have very, very powerful hands, and he absolutely can catch Curtis Blaydes, especially if Curtis just goes, hey, I'm going to box with you today instead of taking you down. Then he can absolutely get chinned. There's a reason that I'm going to stay away from betting on Curtis Blaydes, but Curtis Blaydes should absolutely do whatever he wants with Rizvan Kuniev. From what we've seen, especially on the Contender Series, like, nothing I've seen shows me that he's ready for the level of a Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes should be the superior fighter no matter where the fight goes, unless he gets chinned. That's the problem. On top of that, like I said, this fight for Curtis Blaydes does not matter. It doesn't, like, majorly affect his career. It's not for a belt. It's not for a title elimination bout. Nothing like that. So Curtis Blaydes is going to dummy his opponent this time around. Curtis Blaydes is going to be my official prediction. Let's take a look at the odds. And you can see Curtis Blaydes sitting at a minus 333 average odds favorite right now. Honestly, that makes sense. And I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to bet on Kuniev because, again, you could just bank on the chance that he catches Curtis Blaydes. Let's see if the pros over here. Over 2.5 is plus 100. Yeah, I wouldn't like that either. I wouldn't like that either. I see Curtis Blaydes up getting a finish. Curtis Blaydes is going to be my official prediction, and I really hope the guy gets a job done, man, because I'm a Curtis Blaydes fan. I like Curtis Blaydes. I've always liked him. Hope he wins. All right, guys, let's continue on over to the next fight. We have Marion Santos taking on Francis Marshall, and I already know a lot of people are going to be on the Marion Santos train, but I don't know. I think it's a little bit closer than what people might be thinking because we finally did see Marion Santos. I've been personally watching him in the LFA. We finally saw him make his UFC debut against Con Ofli, and he had a pretty good back-and-forth striking match. He ended up finding a knockout in the second round. Again, he looked pretty good, and he seems to have a lot of promise in the division, but he is a very fluid Muay Thai striker. He's very good at finding shots, kind of like I guess you can call him a sniper. He has crisp jabs, low kicks that are really, really nice too, and really solid counters. Francis Marshall, on the other hand, has had a little bit of a rocky start to his UFC career because after the Contender Series, he ended up getting a nice win, followed by 2 losses, but I will say, look at the 2 losses that he had. William Gomez, split decision. I hope this doesn't age poorly. I'm recording this before the card that you just watched. This is going to be scheduled to release. I would imagine that William Gomez got the win and looked good, but regardless, he's a fantastic fighter. And Isaac Dalgarian, 2 very, very tough fights, tough fighters to go up against, okay? He finally bounced back, stepped up on short notice against Dennis Bazooka, and ended up getting the win. But unfortunately, I do think this fight could have gone either way, and he did fade a little bit. So my point being is I know Marion Santos has all the hype right now. He's looked better, and he's had better performances. Francis Marshall has just been put through the ringer, though, okay? That's all I'm saying. Francis Marshall, he's a decently well-rounded fighter who excels at grappling and at closing distance, just grinding you out for takedowns, controlling you, eventually looking for a submission. His striking isn't always the most technical, but he does have hard-hitting hands. He has nice power behind the shots, too. He has described himself as a less cardio-intensive Colby Covington. I don't remember the exact phrase that he used, but you could think of a Colby Covington who doesn't pressure you nearly as much. That's kind of what Francis Marshall's goal is. So obviously this fight is going to be a striker versus grappler matchup. And I know that Francis Marshall can stand on the feet, but of course it's not going to be the level of Marion Santos. Marion Santos definitely will be the better striker. I would imagine that he has everything in the toolkit to be able to take care of Francis Marshall. I would imagine that he could fend off Francis Marshall, but we haven't seen Marion Santos defend anything like insanely tough, if you know what I mean. So we still have questions there, and that's why I'm kind of like, guys, I get where you're coming from. I get why people are on Marion Santos. I get why people are on the hype train. I'm not ready to be on the hype train yet. He looks very good. He looks very promising. I'm going to pick him in this fight. He's looked a lot better than Francis Marshall has looked recently. I just think it's closer than people are claiming it to be. Marion Santos is going to be my official prediction. You can see over on Odds Gym over here, the average odds for Marion Santos are minus 359 right now. I actually think that's crazy, and what just happened to the website? All right. I just think it's crazy that he's that big of a favorite. I think if you're parlaying, like using Marion Santos as a parlay piece, I think you're nuts. I think unless you're taking a shot in the dark at Francis Marshall, I think you're crazy. Leave this one alone. I don't agree with those odds, but I am picking Marion Santos to get the job done here. All right, guys, let's continue on. Let's continue on up the card to Alex Morono taking on Carlos Leal. I am a big fan of Alex Morono. I always cheer for Alex Morono, and unfortunately, it does seem like Alex Morono is on his way out of the career, and that's something that we're going to be talking about in this, so it's going to hurt a little bit, but I always liked Alex Morono. We'll start with Alex Morono, okay? 24-11, having a very, very rough recent point of his career. He is, I don't want to say formally. That's a problem, man, because I think he's so talented, okay? Regardless, he's a clean striker, nice movement, very, very good grappling. Unfortunately, he is past his prime. He's been showing up inconsistently for a little while now, and now he just shows up to the fight slow and sloppy, and that's demonstrated in a lot of his careers, to be honest with you. The only win he's been having recently is against Court McGee, and it's Court McGee, man. He lost to Nico Price. You shouldn't be losing to Nico Price. He lost to Daniel Rodriguez. You shouldn't be losing to Daniel Rodriguez. And while this one was a little bit more back and forth, it's Daniel Rodriguez, one of the most overrated fighters of all time. Alex Morono, as much as I love watching him, as much as I like him as a guy, as much as I hope he wins this fight, I am no longer on the Alex Morono train. I've always said in these breakdowns, guys, I don't think I said it for his last fight, but I kept saying, like, he has potential. The skill's there. Maybe he needs to lose a little bit of weight. Maybe he needs to prepare a little bit more. I don't know, but the talent is there. Carlos Leal, on the other hand, he's a PFL fighter, LFA fighter. He's been all over the place, and we finally had him come make his UFC debut, and he ended up losing to Rinat Fakhretdinov. This is an incredibly difficult fight to get for your UFC debut, and he took this on about 5 days' notice. So in that fight, it was a dirty and sloppy floor. He dragged Rinat through an absolute war, dude, and he looked good in this fight. He came out looking like, I believe this guy just might belong in the UFC, okay? He is a well-rounded fighter. He's a kickboxer primarily with a pretty good takedown defense. He's very strong. He's super durable. He has incredible heart. He has a really, really nice jab, good leg kicks. Unfortunately, Carlos Leal, on the other hand, is hittable, but he does get by in his toughness sometimes. Guys, I don't think that Carlos Leal is going to lose this fight. I don't. From what the performances that we've seen against Alex Morono recently, he's slow, sloppy, inconsistent. At one point, he had all of the promise in the world. He was a very underrated fighter, but I no longer believe that to be Alex Morono. I think he's past his prime. I know that he has something going on along the lines of like running a gym or something like that. Perhaps his heart isn't in it anymore. Perhaps he's made his money. I don't know. Just, he's not the same Alex Morono. Carlos Leal is a 30-year-old, hungry, in his prime fighter who just dragged Rinat Fakhretdinov through a back-and-forth war. I don't care who has better technique where. I don't think Carlos Leal is going to lose this fight. My official pick is going to be Carlos Leal. Nothing against Carlos Leal. I just hope that Alex Morono gets a job done. I've been a big fan of his for a very long time, and you can see, whew, boy. Carlos Leal sitting at a minus 604 favorite for the average odds. Unfortunately, I have to agree with those odds. I don't see Alex Morono winning this fight whatsoever. I completely agree with that. Carlos Leal is probably lock of the card. All right, guys, let's continue on with the prelims. We have Ozzy Diaz taking on Djorden Santos. Djorden Santos coming in after his Dana White Contender Series win, looking to make his run in the UFC. And unfortunately, we have a little bit of an issue with Djorden Santos because we don't necessarily have a ton of quality opponents, I will say, to take a look at and judge where he like fits in the UFC. So we still have questions there. We'll need to see him take on the Ozzy Diaz. We'll need to see him take on a little bit perhaps better opponents than Ozzy Diaz. Regardless, he's a versatile striker with kickboxing based striking. He has nice combinations. He has good leg kicks. He will mix in a takedown if it's necessary, but he is primarily a striker. Ozzy Diaz, on the other hand, been watching this guy in the LFA coming after his first UFC first UFC debut, taking a loss against Min Yang Zhang, and that's an okay loss to take. He's a powerful striker who manages distance okay. He's always looking for a finish, whether it's on the feet or on the ground. Not a ton to break down with these two fighters. I would imagine that it's going to be a striking match. And honestly, guys, I wish I could expand on that just a little bit more for you, but I'm going to pick Djorden Santos. He seems to be the crisper striker. Even though it's his UFC debut, he has taken on opponents that were way worse than Ozzy Diaz. I don't know if he's hungrier. He's younger. He is just entering his prime now. His striking just looks a little bit more crisp, and sorry if you can hear my notifications over there, guys. He has the options to take his opponent down if he wants to. I'm going to pick him to win, but it's a very, very low confidence pick. I think we still need to see more from both of these guys, but primarily Djorden Santos to see where he fits. The odds kind of reflect that a little bit. Djorden Santos sitting at a little bit of a favorite at the average odds of -179. That makes sense to me. I don't have too much to say about this fight, but I am going to pick Santos to get the job done. All right, guys, let's continue on to your featured prelim. Brunno the Hulk Ferreira taking on Armen Petrosyan. A very important fight for both guys in their careers. Armen Petrosyan very much needs a win over here. So Brunno Ferreira, he's a powerful striker who likes to move forward. He will attack every single part of your body, kind of like we were talking about with Joshua Van. Sometimes he unfortunately waits a little bit too long to throw. He has some BJJ in his back pocket. He has all of the heart in the world, and he has pretty good cardio to back all of that up. He was on a 2-fight win streak with a little bit of hype behind him because he knocked out Phil Hawes and Dustin Stolfus, but then he ran into Abus Magomedov, and to be honest with you, while he did get choked out in the third round of this fight, I still think he had a good performance here. He rocked Abus on multiple occasions and really pushed through the tough pace of the fight. Both guys had their moments. It was just, it was a loss on his record, but I still think that he looked good in that loss. He's taking on Armen Petrosyan. Before we break down Armen Petrosyan, I just want to say, he's 8-4. Like we were just talking about, what am I forgetting now? Doesn't matter. We were just talking about another fighter who's just been run. Oh, Francis Marshall. Sorry. He has been put through the ringer of opponents, okay? Because he unfortunately lost to Kyle Braujo. He ended up getting 2 wins once there was a little bit of a step down in competition. Although I will say that Christian Leroy Duncan is still a phenomenal fighter. Then he fought Rodolfo Vieira. Then he fought Shara Magomedov. The quality opponents, while he's not taking on championship fighters except for like the Kyle Braujos, he's had a very tough resume so far, and he is still a very good fighter. So I wouldn't judge him by his 8-4 record, okay? He's a kickboxer. He typically shows pretty good fight IQ. He has the necessary takedown defense and scrambles to keep things on the feet. He looks to just pick you apart. He looks to knock you out. He looks to just do some work in the kickboxing match. So I would imagine that this fight is going to remain on the feet. I would imagine that Brunno Ferreira is going to chase that knockout. I would imagine that he's going to move forward. He's going to rush Armen Petrosyan. Now the question is, does Armen Petrosyan have the technical kickboxing to kind of keep Brunno Ferreira off of his game and maybe knock him out? It's a tough fight to predict. Very, very tough fight, and I think this is a close fight. This is one of the closest fights on the card, to be honest with you. I'm going to assume that Armen Petrosyan will just be a slightly better kickboxer and get the better of Brunno Ferreira. Will Brunno Ferreira try to take down Armen Petrosyan? I don't know. It's in his back pocket. He does like to use it every once in a while. But Armen Petrosyan also probably has the good scrambles and takedown defense to kind of chuck a Brunno Ferreira off of him. Very tough fight. A little bit of a closer fight. I'm going to give a slight lean to Armen Petrosyan. I think he's just a tiny bit better in the striking department, but we'll see what happens. I don't know if Brunno Ferreira is going to try and mix it up. I'm going to pick Armen Petrosyan. It's also important to note he's finally exiting his prime. Brunno Ferreira is at the tail end there, but he still is in his prime. Armen Petrosyan is going to be the pick, but it is a low confidence pick, and I'm actually surprised that the odds are reflecting it this close. For some reason, I thought Brunno Ferreira would be the favorite there. So perhaps you can look at Brunno Ferreira and just take a stab at an underdog opportunity, but I don't really know what's going to happen in this fight. I would stay away from this one personally, but my pick is going to be Armen Petrosyan for this bout. Now, guys, we do still have some fantastic, I would say 4 fantastic fights to talk about, but let me stop you for just a second. As you know, I talk a lot about betting on this channel, so if you're interested in hearing exactly where I'm putting my money where my mouth is, or just supporting the channel, you can check out the channel membership in the pinned comment, description down below, or right next to the subscribe button. It's very cheap compared to other channels. Every single Thursday, Friday, or Saturday morning, depending on whether or not I'm betting on Friday fights, I will be uploading a community members post along with a members only video explaining exactly what I'm doing with my money, why I'm doing it, with some fun parlays. It's all around a pretty good time. I am a fight fan who really enjoys sports betting. I am very knowledgeable in all of these fighters as well, so if you're looking to either combine my fight knowledge with your own research, never to blindly tail, or just supporting the channel, that you can check that out. Thank you very much for listening. Also, to go back to OddsGym over here, for example, OddsGym is a partner of the channel. If you're looking to sign up to OddsGym, which is fantastic for serious sports bettors, you can see where the lines are on completely different sports books, and even if I were to move my camera over here, they have a multitude of different avenues in order to place your bets. They are fantastic. So if you're looking to sign up to OddsGym, you can use my link in the pinned comment, description down below, or right next. Oh, that's not right. The subscribe button. The membership is pinned comment, description down below. Use code Clenbat. Sorry, that was a little bit lengthy. Let's get into the main card. So you know how earlier I said that we just had the toughest fight to predict on our hands? Well, I lied. This is the toughest fight to predict. We have Jalin Turner taking on Ignacio Bahamondes. This is a phenomenal matchup, and I cannot wait to watch this one. Jalin Turner is 14-8, but unfortunately, like we were just talking about with a couple other fighters, he has had a very tough quality of opponents. The Mateusz Gamrot split decision win. The Dan Hooker split decision. Oh, I said win, but the 2 losses that he's had were both split decision losses. And the Renato Moicano fight where he won it, but he walked away, and then Renato Moicano ended up finishing him. So Jalin Turner is also better than his record shows. Jalin Turner is a lanky, explosive striker who does a good job using his height. He's a very tall, lanky guy for the division. He does a good job using his height. He's using his reach to punish the opponents from a distance. He has sharp jabs, nice hands in general, really solid knees in the clinch. He can be taken down. If he is taken down, he does have decent defense, but it's nothing to write home about, nothing special. He's in his prime. He's looking powerful. He's looking great. He is a fantastic fighter. Ignacio Bahamondes, guys, though, is a fighter that I've been paying attention for a while, okay? I am very excited, and he's always exciting, man. After his recent loss, he ended up coming back to a 2-fight win streak, looking really good, especially in the Manuel Torres one. Like, he looked good in both these fights, man, but even then, like, to lose to Ludovic Klein, that's a fantastic loss to have on your record. This dude has been active. He's been very exciting to watch. He's been getting wins over great fighters. He is flying under the radar, guys, okay? He's a very big striker, also big for the division. How tall are these guys going to be? Oh, they're both 6'3". Ooh, I knew both of them were big for the division. So that's going to be interesting because Jalin, I would say, both of them kind of use their size for the division. I want to say Jalin Turner might rely on that a little bit more. Ooh, I'm kind of like swaying my own opinion over here. Very tough, okay? Anyways, Ignacio Bahamondes. He's a big striker. He has good volume. I would say he has more volume than power, but his power is also really good for the division. He has good movement, and he uses it very well to get out of the way of strikes. Sometimes, and you can't always rely on him to do this, but sometimes he shows up. He's looking like insanely crisp, has like really nice timing on his shots. He wants to keep the fight on the feet. He has okay takedown defense, and like I said, this dude is really big for the division. So I would need to see these guys actually at the weigh-ins, and this might be a card where I'm definitely going to be making, but then again, like, 1 championships on Friday, we might have to make 2 videos about the members bets because I'm interested in possibly betting on 1 championship on Friday, and now for Saturday I might want to see them at the weigh-in face-offs to see like if there's one guy that's bigger than the other, one guy that has mass on the other, because both of these guys use their weight, height, reach to an advantage. Even their reach is the same. That makes for a very interesting fight. I was about to say, guys, this is a 50-50 fight, and I kind of still do think it is. I think this is the toughest fight on the card to predict, but I think Jalin Turner relies on it just a little bit more than Ignacio Bahamondes does. Plus, Ignacio Bahamondes, he's been taking, I don't know if I even want to say he's been taking on a lower quality of opponents, because, like, look at this resume of opponents that he has just taken on. He's been taking on some really good fighters, too. Jalin Turner's just been taking on the names, and they've done a little bit more in the sport, okay? Ooh, this is a tough fight. Guys, I'm going to go with Ignacio Bahamondes. I like the role that he's on. And I think that Jalin Turner relies on, and when I say that he relies on his length, power, reach a lot, I'm not saying that like that's how he gets by in fights. He's a phenomenal striker. He's a phenomenal fighter in himself. He's been unlucky a little bit with some decisions going the other way, and the Hinata Moicano thing was his own fault, but you get my point. I think they're both phenomenal. I think they both have a bright future. They're both very young, and I think that both of them are going to be highly ranked one day. Ignacio Bahamondes at this point is going to be my prediction to get the job done. I kind of hope he gets the job done too, man. I like both fighters, but I think I like Ignacio Bahamondes. He's really fun to watch too. So, and the odds are reflecting exactly what I was saying. Very, very tough fight to predict. I wouldn't bet on this fight, man. I wouldn't bet on this fight. This one's just tossing a coin. But like I'm kind of slowly convincing myself to pick Ignacio Bahamondes a little bit more. But I like the role he's been on. Very fun fight. I can't wait to watch it. One of the best fights on the entire card right now. All right, guys, let's move on to the next fight. Bobby and officially changed his name to King Green, taking on One Shot Mauricio Ruffy. Another phenomenal fight on this card. So, Bobby Green, very slick boxer. We all know him at this point. He's a very, very slick boxer with good hand speed. He has really good movement. His power is underrated, but he also can hit you from anywhere. He has an underrated wrestling game where he can mix things up here and there. Every once in a while, you'll see him introduce it. He does get overconfident. He does talk in the cage with his hands down. Sometimes that brings him major issues, and this might be the reason that this is a good matchup because Mauricio Ruffy kind of does the same thing. He's a very powerful and creative striker with great distance management. He isn't afraid to be creative. He has takedowns in his back pocket. When this dude smells blood is when he's most dangerous. When he knows he has you hurt, he really, really looks to go and finish you. Rogan actually mentioned something that I never thought of, and I will always call this back moving forward when we break down Mauricio Ruffy. He moves, just his movement in general, he kind of moves around like a prime McGregor. I believe he's correct in saying that. And that's some really, really solid movement, okay? The only problem is, and this is something we've recently seen with Mauricio Ruffy, is he does slow down big time after round 2. Big time. He also, like Bobby Green, he clowns around, he tries to look cool instead of actually trying to get a finish. One day, that's going to be an issue. Just like we talked about with Gene Silva. It's fun to watch. It's really cool. He makes for some of the most fun fights that we've been seeing in fighters recently. Him and Gene Silva are going to run into issues with the way they clown around instead of actually looking for finishes. It's happened to Bobby Green, and it's going to happen to them one day. Mauricio Ruffy, he's had phenomenal performance after coming into the UFC. Jamie Malarkey, he looked good. James Lyontop, could have been better, but he still looked really good. It was kind of a domination up until the third round. Bobby Green, on the other hand, he's 32-16, and actually he's been getting better with age. I will say, like, at this point now, King Green is officially out of his prime because he took the beating that Jalin Turner put on him. He came back, got a very, very clean victory over Jim Miller, and then unfortunately lost to Paddy Pimblett, which was surprising to a lot of people, but Bobby Green still has it, man, and I know that the entire world is picking Mauricio Ruffy. I'm also picking Mauricio Ruffy to get the win, but I still worry about Mauricio Ruffy, okay? Mauricio Ruffy, one of these days, he's going to get chinned. Bobby Green can throw punches from anywhere. His hands can be at the ground. All of a sudden, there's a jab in your face. Like, this dude has incredible hand speed. And Bobby Green, he can mix in the grappling. I'm not going to rely on him to do so, but he can take down Mauricio Ruffy. I do think that Mauricio Ruffy, being in his prime, having more reach, using it well, the movement might... I don't know if the movement's going to confuse a Bobby Green, though. Bobby Green is, like, really, really comfortable in the octagon. I know Mauricio Ruffy is already a massive favorite, and I'm picking him to win this fight. I think Mauricio Ruffy is younger. Bobby Green's past his prime. He could knock out Bobby Green at this point in his career. I'm just saying, one of these days, him and Gene Silva, they're going to get chinned. Bobby Green is capable of doing so. Bobby Green is very comfortable in there. And if it gets to the third round and Mauricio Ruffy slows down after a really, really high-paced round 1 and 2, Bobby Green is the type of guy who can really drag him into deep waters. I'm just saying, if we saw what people would call a fraud check, I don't believe that Mauricio Ruffy, even if he lost this fight, would be a fraud. Bobby Green could upset the entire card here. If people are using Mauricio Ruffy as a parlay piece, I could see him losing this fight. I'm still picking Mauricio Ruffy. Like I said, I think he's going to be a better striker. I think he's younger. I think he's going to be faster. Bobby Green still has it, though. While he's out of his prime, Bobby Green still has it. I'm picking Mauricio Ruffy. Let's check out these odds, okay? Mauricio Ruffy sitting at a minus 574 favorite. I actually think that's crazy. If I was making the odds, I would have Mauricio Ruffy at like a minus 300-ish, okay? Do not use Mauricio Ruffy as your parlay piece. I believe that is what's going to have everybody over on like the MMA betting subreddit, people on Twitter, people in the betting YouTube and community, everybody freaking out that Mauricio Ruffi is a fraud. Meanwhile, Bobby King Green is actually just a really, really good veteran at this point in his career. I still think he's going to get the job done. Just, it would not shock me if Bobby Green ended up getting the win here, but my pick is going to be Mauricio Ruffi. Let's move on to the featured fight, guys. This pay-per-view worthy fight on the main card, okay? Amanda Lemos taking on Aisman Lucindo. All right, Amanda Lemos. She is a 37-year-old, almost 38-year-old in the division Muay Thai striker with good power for the division. She uses her range typically fairly well. Every once in a while, not once in a while, sometimes you'll see her lack fight IQ. She's very strong in the division. She's very mentally tough. Aisman Lucindo, on the other hand, she's a grappler with great takedowns from the clinch. Very good at both ground and pound and submissions. On the feet, she's subpar, and she's okay at counter-striking, and she, on the other hand, unlike Amanda Lemos, she does have good fight IQ. I don't know what to think of this fight, guys. You have a 23-year-old and probably improving Aisman Lucindo because she looked good, and I don't know, like, if she's been improving fight to fight or not. Maybe, like, a slight improvement. She's been taking on, like, okay opponents. Marina Rodriguez, Karolina Kowalkiewicz are both out of their primes, but they're good fighters. Amanda Lemos, she only got the win over Mackenzie Dern, which means absolutely nothing, but then lost to Weili Zhang and Verna Jandiroba, which are actual top contenders. I don't know, man. I don't know. This is a tough fight, and I don't know who to pick here. It's probably going to be a striker versus grappler matchup, but who knows? Amanda Lemos might just come out and go, hey, I'm going to shoot a takedown instead of actually striking, where Aisman Lucindo is, it could just not, I could probably beat Aisman Lucindo in the striking match. I don't know. I like the adjustments at least we see from Aisman Lucindo. Like I said, she has fight IQ. I don't know. I don't really care about this fight either, to be honest with you guys. I'm going to pick Aisman Lucindo to get the job done. Amanda Lemos, we've seen enough from her. At least Aisman Lucindo's young. She's hungry. She's on a roll. I'm picking Aisman Lucindo. I don't really care for this fight too much. Let's take a look at the odds. Yeah. Nobody knows what to think about this fight. I'm excited for these next two fights, guys. Let's talk about them. But before we do talk about those fights, guys, let me stop you just one more time. As you know, I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. We don't just make UFC and MMA content over here. If you want to check out the link tree or the actual direct links in the description down below, we have a gaming channel uploading about Fortnite. We have a movie, TV show, anime show review content channel, and we also have a variety channel where we talk about things that are trending around the world right now, talking about just streamers doing like the things that streamers do, just beefing between each other. We just uploaded about Dr. Disrespect, you know, talking to kids, stuff like that. Anything that's been trending, we have been covering over on that channel, from YouTube updates all the way to random tier lists. So if you want to check it out, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for your time over here. Let's talk about the co-main event. Let's talk about the brand new co-main event that we have right here. If you guys are interested, by the way, I thought that Dan Hooker was going to wipe the floor with Justin Gaethje. I thought it was a pretty good matchup. Justin Gaethje. We all know Justin Gaethje at this point, guys. He's kind of a technical brawler who is one of the most heart-filled, durable warriors of all time. If you fight his fight, he will likely, not always, outlast you. He can fight technical, but we definitely have seen him have his technical performances, and that's something that he used against Aviziv last time. But usually he ends up just choosing to load up and slug it out, being sloppy. He supposedly has good wrestling, but we haven't really seen it. He has very nice boxing. He has nice timing on a lot of his shots. Really solid uppercuts as well. Really solid, powerful hooks. And he also has ruthless leg kicks. So you never know what Justin Gaethje is going to show up. Is he going to get sucked into a brawl? Is he going to engage in a brawl? Or is he going to sit down and fight technically? He's capable of doing it all. Rafael Fiziev, on the other hand, he's a very dangerous Muay Thai striker who has a complete package when it comes to the feet. He has technique everywhere. He has insane speed, slicing elbows, really hard, nice timing, power, flashiness, slicing, I think I said slicing elbows. Did I say slicing elbows? This dude, no matter what you want to do on the feet, he is the complete package when it comes to a striker, okay? He's very, very developed. You name it, he can do it. The only problem with Rafael Fiziev is his cardio is the only thing that needs work. It's explosive. So explosive, and it's understandable why he does slow down, but he does need to fix it if he's going to fight the way that he fights. When it comes to the end of about the second round and into the third, he is not the same guy to deal with. Rafael Fiziev, and I will mention this about this one performance too, he's coming off of 2 losses. The first one being to Justin Gaethje. It was a rematch. It was a very, very close fight. Snapchat, sorry, I keep thinking it's going to be the last notification I'm getting. Sorry about that, everybody. I know it kept coming through. This was a very, very close fight. Both fighters had a really good performance. Justin Gaethje just did edge out Rafael Fiziev, and one of the reasons for that is because Fiziev couldn't carry the same cardio that Justin Gaethje could. He's fighting a guy that was insanely, ridiculously durable, okay? Anyways, And his next loss was the Matej Gamrot fight. This fight, he was having a really, really, really good performance until the knee injury. And I don't know the extent of his knee injury, but I know that he basically tore his knee apart. Like, it was a very, very horrible knee injury, and that's something that's very important to note when you're talking about Rafael Fiziev coming in, because he's taking this fight on short notice. Supposedly he's in shape, but is he going to be tentative when he's throwing the leg kicks against the guy like Justin Gaethje? Is he going to be tentative on just throwing that leg in general? Is he going to be worried Justin Gaethje could chop down his leg? That's a major, major issue. Some people never show up the same after absolutely annihilating their knee. So I need to see more from Fiziev before I end up actually like talking about putting money on Fiziev, okay? I need to see that he's fearless. I need to see that his leg works, you know? I'm sure it works, but you get what I'm saying behind that. Now, the other point that I want to talk about is Justin Gaethje. He is 36 years old now, okay? He, at some point, is not going to be able to be sucked into the brawls that he has been. And he's had good performance. He had 2 really good wins. The Rafael Fiziev fight, he looked good. The Dustin Poirier fight, it was not the best performance, but he won. He got a nice knockout. And then the Max Holloway fight, he had a clinic put on him. And then he got finished. I know we've seen Gaethje rocked a million times. I know we've seen Gaethje finish before, but he had a face plant straight up knockout. Sometimes when fighters receive a knockout like that, they are never the same. So both of these guys are coming in with conditions that I'm not so sure about. Is Justin Gaethje's chin the same? On top of that, Justin Gaethje said if he gets knocked out one more time, he's calling it quits. Is his head still in it? I believe that he loves fighting. I believe he's one of those guys. So I question his mindset. I question his chin. I question his durability. I question his age. Rafael Fiziev, I question whether or not he'll be tentative in throwing the same. Because when this dude throws his kicks, like, there are some of the most intent-filled kicks you will ever see in a fighter, okay? I worry about that. I worry about his movement. Is he going to be... Because things like that have to be in the back of your mind when you're entering the octagon. You could have the perfect training camp, and he didn't have a training camp, but you could be training, looking good, my leg's all healed, but once you get into that octagon, maybe those thoughts will come back. There's too many asterisks on this fight for me to make a very confident pick for you, but because this fight was on short notice, and Justin Gaethje did outlast him the first time, and Rafael Fiziev has had cardio issues in the past. It's not like he completely fades or anything. It's just he can be beat, okay? For those reasons, I'm going to edge towards Justin Gaethje. I'm not confident in saying that at all. I worry. Again, I just walked through all my worries, but I like Justin Gaethje. He's had a full training camp for this. He has already beat Rafael Fiziev in the past. His cardio is probably going to be better. I'm going to pick Justin Gaethje to get the win over here, but it is a very, very low confidence pick of mine. Okay, let's take a look at the odds over on OddsJam. You can see the odds are very close here as well. I'm surprised that Gaethje isn't a little bit more of a favorite considering the fight that was taken on short notice, but maybe people are thinking the same way that I am over here. I'm interested in what you guys think about this fight, so please let me know down below. I cannot wait for this fight. I'm so happy that Justin Gaethje got a replacement, man. I wanted to watch him fight Dan Hooker. All right, guys, let's continue on over to the main event. We have Alex Poatan Pereira taking on Magomed Ankalaev. Like the odds have been for this fight, I have been back and forth on what I think about the fight. Finally, we get the big matchup. We all know Alex Pereira at this point. He is a very powerful, accurate, and accomplished kickboxer who often wins by knockout. From the little that we've seen so far, he appears to have a hole in his grappling, but we haven't also had that seriously tested yet. He could just be training like no tomorrow. He trained under Glover Teixeira. He could have a secret, like, great ground game in his back pocket. We just haven't seen it yet, okay? He has incredible timing, power, leg, and calf kicks. He is hittable on the other side of the coin, though, and he has that awkward Alex Pereira stance that we all know and love right now. I can't mimic it exactly, but when he throws his straight shots, he is open to getting countered, but he is very durable. He is oftentimes the better imposing striker than his opponent, so he gets away with, I don't even want to say negative tendencies like that, but it's just a unique style, and he's looked phenomenal doing so. He has been on an incredible run, arguably one of the greatest champions in the UFC. Look at the quality of opponents he has just taken on, and he just coming off of that Khalil Roundtree Jr. fight where he was actually losing the first couple rounds to Khalil Roundtree. I don't remember exactly what I ended up scoring, but he was getting outstruck, but then he just went into Matrix mode, flow state, just absolutely annihilated Khalil Roundtree Jr. Magomed Ankalaev, on the other hand, he's 20-1. The title shot has been a long time coming, and I will say, I still have been saying, up until the Alexander Rakic fight, I wasn't like, oh my god, Magomed Ankalaev, he's the sole #1 contender, and he's been getting robbed, and the UFC's protecting him. Regardless, he's a very well-rounded fighter who has strengths both on the feet and on the ground. He has great wrestling, great power behind his hands. He's a very, very nice all-round fighter, just exiting his prime, and I was actually surprised that he beat Alexander Rakic. I ended up betting. Yeah, I did bet on Alexander Rakic. I can't remember if I bet on that fight or not. I'm pretty sure I did. Regardless, he ended up pressuring Alexander Rakic the whole time. He outstruck Rakic, hit a clean performance, but to be honest, the Rakic did look off in this fight. Here's the problem, okay? The reason I brought that up is because I just talked about Alex Pereira's most recent fight. Magomed Ankalaev has been saying over and over again that he'll strike with Alex Pereira. If he does that, he will lose. There is a clear difference in the level of striking between the two. It's not even close. I would be shocked if Magomed Ankalaev could hurt Pereira on the feet. If Magomed Ankalaev took the striking to Pereira, I think that Alex is just straight up the better striker, okay? If he mixes in the takedowns, if he mixes in the wrestling, this is where this fight gets very interesting because we still don't know to what level Alex Pereira's grappling game is. And Magomed Ankalaev, he's not like this killer grappler, man. He is a fighter with a nice all-round game. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in this fight. Is Magomed Ankalaev actually going to just strike with Alex Pereira? If that's the case, he's probably going to lose. On top of that, Alex Pereira is 37, almost 38 years old. I know you can get away with that when you're going towards the light heavyweight division. One of these days he's going to get cracked, and he has been cracked against Israel Adesanya, but that was probably because of the weight cut. He's due for an upset. He's just due for an upset. And I'm thinking this one might actually be the guy who ends up upsetting Alex Pereira. It's just I don't know what approach Magomed Ankalaev is going to take to the fight. If he comes in with an all-round game, looking to mix in the takedowns, making Alex Pereira think, perhaps grinding him out a little bit, he's probably going to edge out the fight a little bit. But even then, is Alex Pereira going to chew up his calves? Because we know Magomed Ankalaev has an issue with that too. Is he going to chew up the calves? If Magomed Ankalaev strikes, he's going to lose. I don't know if he's going to do that. On top of that, I think Magomed Ankalaev's record is so overrated. Anthony Smith, Jan Blachowicz, which past his prime Jan Blachowicz. We had the Johnny Walker fights. Look at the difference in the quality of opponents, okay? But just the problem is we haven't seen Alex Pereira have his grappling seriously tested. I've been wishy-washy on this fight. I've been back and forth. I think it's a huge 50-50 fight. I don't know. I don't know who's going to win. If you had a gun to my head, I'd say Magomed Ankalaev. Pereira's due for an upset. He's younger. Maybe he can pressure Pereira enough, but I don't know. I can't count him on to do it. I'm going to pick Magomed Ankalaev to get the job done. I would like to see Alex Pereira win because I like Alex Pereira. He's fun to watch, and nothing against Magomed Ankalaev, but it's probably better for the sport, and I've been really enjoying the championship run of of Alex Pereira. Let's take a look at odds jam. Alex Pereira sitting at a minus 119 favorite. I know these odds have been flopping back and forth all the time. I'm with that. I think you're crazy. You've bet on this fight. Maybe you can bet on fight not to go the distance. Let's see what the round lines are over here, okay? You can see that over 3.5. Wow. Even the rounds aren't sure, man. Very tough. Very, very tough fight. Under 3.5. I actually don't mind under 3.5 on that one. For this fight, I'm staying away from it completely. I hope Pereira gets a job done. But for the sake of the video, I am going to pick Magomed Ankalaev. Guys, let me know what you think about the card down below. Thank you very much for watching. Why don't you check out this video on screen right now? We dive into the whole Henry Cejudo situation and the internet reacting to it. I'd love to have you guys over there. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Take care.